Hi, everybody. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us in our very first Lunch and Learn of 2022. So most people use the new year as an opportunity to set new goals or I don't like to say resolutions because resolutions is just one of those things that most people go, I don't set New Year's resolutions, but a lot of people do, make goals for the year. And one of those goals often is getting organized, right? They want to organize, they want to be more organized with their time, they want to get their finances in order, they want to, you know, clean out their closets, all sorts of things around being organized, organizing their life, organizing their space, organizing their money. So we thought for today's Lunch and Learn, since it is the January, that we would focus on getting organized, primarily the two aspects, organizing your life and organizing your finances. So our speakers today are here we're going to have a fireside chat. So they're not doing a presentation per se, but I'll be asking them questions and we'll be having a dialogue about those topics. So Demetria, Sep, and Al, if you can, Tanya, if you can pop them up too, and then we can get started. All right, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time to chat with our chapter today. I'm gonna first start by asking you to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about you and your company. So Demetria, will you go to first?
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Demetria Sloan. Greetings from the NABO Orlando chapter. I am the founder and president of Vantage Point Coaching, and executive leadership and life coaching firm here in Orlando, Florida. And I'm just so excited and happy to be here. I love sharing with my NABO sisters from around the country. And hopefully I'll be able to share some really practical tips and tools, because everything about me with my coaching and practice and training and development is what are you actually going to be able to do and commit to doing on a consistent basis, because consistency is what's going to be the difference.
Sep, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great day, great week so far. My name is Sep Parandi. I'm a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in the Northern Virginia area, McLean to be specific. Went to Langley High School, went to Longwood University, played soccer there. It was a great experience. Played against all the big schools, even though we weren't one of the big schools. We still got to experience going to UVA, Virginia Tech, UNC, all those places, and then went off to get my master's from University of Oklahoma. So huge football fan, go Sooners, huge Caps fan. So yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for being here. And Al.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. And Demetria, that trip you were speaking about earlier sounds amazing. If you need a chauffeur or a butler, let me know. Happy New Year to everyone. So my name is Arvin Kutsia. I'm a business partner with SEP. Our office is in Tysons Corner, McLean, our financial planning practice. You can hear I've got this weird accent, originally from South Africa. Both my wife and I, we moved to the United States about 7 years ago. Interesting little bit about me. For 13 years, I was in the maritime industry. I was a private yacht captain. My wife was a chef. I had the opportunity to travel to over 40 different countries. And then we had kids. I've got a 7-year-old son and a 4-year-old little daughter. So we had to find grown-up jobs, and we live in South Riding here in Virginia. I've been loving it ever since. Love being a dad, love being a financial advisor, and help our clients guide them on the best way possible moving forward. And thanks again for having us today.
Well, thank you for being here. All right, so let's get started. So Demetria, when people come to you and say they need help getting organized, what's the first thing you tell them or ask them?
Yeah, well, so a few things. One of the first things when people say time management, so that's the tip number one. Erase the thought that you can manage time, because you can't. because the time we have is the time we have. If we all woke up this morning at 7 a.m., we all have the same number of hours in our day, right? So we can't manage the time. It's about what do we do with the time that we do have? So just like as if you were working with a financial planner, I often advise my clients to do a time audit. So the new year, you're going to work out with a nutritionist or whatever they say, do a food diary, do a food audit, right? You work out a financial planner, they say, okay, let's get control of your spending to create a budget. Let's do an audit to see actually how you are spending your time. Oftentimes we think we're doing one thing when we're actually doing something else. And so having a realistic view of how you're investing the time that you do have is so very important in order to start getting organized and making better choices about how I want to invest my time. Because, Rent made it famous. It's 525,600 minutes. That's how you measure a year, right? So we all have the same number of minutes. People who use those minutes more effectively are those who are focused on, and I'll talk more about that, but really aligning how you're using your time as it relates to the vision and mission that you have and the goals that you have for yourself. So the only way you can figure that out is starting with auditing your time and figure out what you're actually doing every day.
How do you do the time audit?
So a time audit is similarly, like I said, to a financial plan or even a food audit, is tracking everything that you're doing. Do that for a good 72 hours to a week so you can get a really good handle of what it typically looks like. And then you can find out what are those time vampires, the things that are stealing time away from you. You can really get a good idea of what it actually takes to do the work that you do every day, right? Because we often underestimate the amount of time. So I know Lisa does social media. So like people think, oh, I'm gonna create a post or I'm gonna do a video. I'm just gonna do it real quick. And usually it's not real quick. And because we usually underestimate the amount of time it actually takes to do some of the work that we do. I know, Molly, you just finished writing your book and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna go, people, just go write a chapter. It doesn't work that way. So it helps you really get a good, strong picture of not just the vampires and things that steal your time away, but how you actually use the time that you do have and what does it really take to do your job and do it well. And then you can have a better understanding. Okay, all right, I'm about to go list this house, Jean. I have a better idea and understanding of what it takes that goes into the listing and getting it ready and prepared. And it's not something that, I can just do, I'm just going to do that little thing. It actually requires a lot of investment of time.
Great. So same question to you guys, Sep and Al. It's up to you who wants to take it. So what would you do if someone comes to you and says, okay, I want to get my financial house in order. What's the first step?
So me and Al will kind of tag team back and forth with the question. The first step is really to understand where you are. You have to know what,
similar to what Dimitri was saying too.
Exactly. You have to know what comes in, what goes out every month. You have to know what your fixed expenses are, what your discretionary expenses are. And using that, you have to prioritize how to get ahead, how to build yourself, how to build a strong future for yourself. So,
Okay.
yeah, basically paying yourself first.
Okay, great. So do you recommend people do a personal financial statement or, track not just their expenses, but their assets and all that kind of stuff? Or,
Exactly.
how would they go about doing that?
And like Demetria said, getting a financial plan in place with an advisor is critical. It's very important. And majority of the times, the financial advisor, they won't charge you for this plan. It's complimentary. So it's important to get to really, because if you have that laid out for you and you see it on paper or on the screen or whatever it is, it's a lot easier to digest than just thinking about everything in your mind. You can really see where the numbers are. You can really see where you want to be, where you're tracking at. You can see what you need to change to maybe get to that point. So I think, as Demetria said, it's crucial. It's crucial to have a financial plan built out.
Okay, great. All right, so next question for both of you guys. Okay, what kind of tools can you use to do that? So Demetria, what tools would you use to do time management, organization, and then after that, Sep or Al, what kind of tools would you use to kind of create your financial plan?
So the most powerful tool we have is this little bitty thing that we all hold in our hands every day. You can't see mine very well. Well, if I hold it right here, you can kind of see it. This little thing we call a phone, but it's really a supercomputer that
Mhm.
we have. And I use the calendar function in here for everything. And so whatever calendaring system you use, and I know with some of us with our businesses, we use certain tools to do our bookings and things like that, but make sure that they're all integrated. And I even integrate my personal calendar with, you're like, it's like, you know what, I can't do this separate calendar thing anymore. Like one calendar, master calendar for everything. Everything, whether it's within my business or I'm the first vice president of my National Alumni Association, everything has a different color code. So I know that, okay, this is National Alumni Business. Okay, this is NABO event. Oh, this is Vantage Point coaching work here. So that I can really see it clearly. So I use my calendar in that way. But the first tip or tool, or first tip was you can't manage time. So just like get a grip and let that go. The second kind of real tip is before you get to the calendar on your phone and putting it all in and using that tool, get a piece of paper out and write 12 to 12. Like write a 24, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then the first question I say is, how much time do you need to sleep?
Okay.
And let's take that off the calendar.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't got enough sleep, so this is the life coach part of me. If you don't have enough sleep, you're not going to function well. So you can have all that extra time and all those spots on your calendar, but if you've had inadequate sleep, you're not going to be productive in those times. So don't do it to yourself. Block off the sleep first. So all of us don't necessarily need 8 hours. I know that's kind of like the standard, but some of us are good at 7. Some people are 6, some people are 8, but knock off the sleep. So what are the hours do you want to be sleeping? Because some of us are nocturnal beings. Some of y'all might, do I'm an early morning girl, so I need to be in the bed by a certain time. Knock off the sleep first. And then once you've knocked off the sleep first, then start building what your day looks like there in that calendar, what you actually have time to actually be actively doing things. Build in your eating, build in your exercise, because for me, exercise is a chore. It's not like, oh, I just want to do it. No, it has to be planned and on the calendar, because I never got the runner's high, y'all, not me. So I have to, so with those hours that I actually have, so you start with 24. If I knock off 7 for sleep, so now I'm down to, okay, do the math real fast. 17, right? So I knock then, okay, if I knock an hour off that I at least want to eat or pour back into myself, so then that's another hour off. So I'm down now to 16. And then you start knocking out time. So if you have a newborn, there's some things you have to do. If you're caring for elderly parents, there are some other things you might have to do. If you have certain health challenges, you might have some other things that are mandatory that need to be done. And so write everything down on a piece of paper first. I like paper, old school pen and paper, because then you can see it. It's right there in your face. Knock those hours off and then start plugging them back in, and then start plugging everything into your calendar. And this is the most powerful tool that we have.
Al, you want to take tools for financial planning that people can use to figure out where they're at financially and what their goals should need to be?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And to be honest with you, it all starts with figuring out where you are today. So to come back to the initial question, a lot of people, and it's so funny, my wife and I, we are doing our 6-month financial planning review tomorrow. I have to put her on the calendar with her, Demetria. It's so important. She's a PM, so her time is also valuable. But we want a written comprehensive plan with that can show you the projections of each individual is unique in their goals and the timelines that they want to achieve those goals. And so we'll do one for the year, for 3 years, for 5 years, for 10 years ahead. And that is how we write our financial plan. And that gives us the asset allocations or where we need to move our funds and our savings in order to achieve those goals. The other important thing that I would add to that is to continually review it. That's so important. Otherwise, it's, I had a guy that sent me a New Year's wish saying that I hope your bad luck lasts as long as your New Year's resolution. And, we don't want that. We want these New Year's resolutions to stay intact. So to continually review the plan, exercise, eventually repetition or becomes habit. So continually make sure that you review that plan and that you stay on top of those goals.
So to follow up on that, so a lot of times, people have a goal of paying off debt. So what do you recommend is the best approach for that?
Seb, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start. You can chime in as well. So for this one, I love answering this question because so always start with the high interest debt. And what I joke with clients about, it's kind of a joke, not really, is that I can guarantee you a 22% return on your money. And that is just by paying down a credit card debt that has 22% interest on it. So those, you have to, there's kind of two debts. Can't say good, but good debt and then also bad debt. Bad debt would be like credit card debt. You want to get those out of the way, especially if they're high interest rates. And then debt that's not so much bad is a mortgage. Without that loan, you wouldn't be able to purchase that house. It's a low interest rate. You can put your money in the market, get 8, 9, 10% return, and your mortgage is only 3%. So it's called debt arbitrage. So that's one of the techniques that we look at, and really what we look at when we get to paying down debt.
I've heard that you talk about paying off the highest rates first, but I had heard that you should maybe pay off the lowest balance first, because then that gives you a win and that gives you the incentive to keep going on that. What's the thought process on which is better?
That's a great question, because everyone works differently. Everyone has a different mindset. For some people, they're like, yes, I paid down this $2,000 debt. I'm good to go on to the next one. But some people are like, okay, forget it. I want to be tactical. I want to be strategic. I want to pay off the higher interest debt first. So it's all the mentality of the client, and it's all their objective.
So in terms of, then that kind of leads to, how do you, making sure you stay on track? You don't give up halfway through and just say, if it's too much, forget it, I can't do it. So Demetria, how do you encourage people to stay on track with, managing you can't manage your time, as you said, but being organized around your time.
Staying focused, all that good stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Sep used the word objective. So really with all of my clients, I start with the vision, their vision and mission, having a personal vision and mission statement, because then that helps you create your goals and create your realistic objectives, right? Everything we are doing, everything you're plugging into that calendar should be aligned to move you closer to that vision, right? Our vision should be something that we're constantly reaching out for, reaching towards, but everything we're doing should be moving us closer to it if we really want to have that fulfillment and keep our eyes on the prize. Not saying we won't fall off, not saying that I'm not a work in progress on some days, absolutely, because guess what? Welcome to the human parade. Like, hey, we're all human. But starting with the vision is so very important. And so I recently did this Design Your Life Summit that I, with a small group, it's like a group coaching experience. And the last thing we did was we looked at the life's vision. So we do a look back, we do a look forward, and then it's the present. So we looked at that life vision and created that. And then we started working on, okay, so now what am I going to do the next 30 days, 30, 60, 90 days that's going to move me closer to that? And so for you all women business owners, same thing for you. What is the vision for your business? Because sometimes we find ourselves participating in activities, doing some nice to do things, but they're not necessarily moving us closer to what the vision is. We may get asked, oh, will you serve on this? And you're like, sure, I'll serve on that. It sounds like something good to do, but then you start looking at your calendar, and then you start looking at the time that you're investing in this thing that was so good to do. And then you get mad and resentful. And why did I commit to doing that? Because you didn't check it against your objectives. You didn't check it against what you're supposed to be aligning to. And so I use that vision kind of as the North Star, your personal vision and personal mission as the North Star, so that to keep you from getting off track. And you can save it. You can do a vision board and have it up in your office. You can do it. I did mine. You do it in Canva and stick it up on your computer screen. You can have it as a screensaver, whatever it is. So every day you start off oriented with, okay, as I get prepared to write down my to-do list today, my goals and objectives. Okay, let me look at this vision. What is moving me closer to this? And what's taking me away?
That's great. You know, one of my issues with time is that I work really well under deadlines. But when I don't have a deadline, I procrastinate getting things done. So if, you know, this thing has to be done at some point in the next month or so, it'll be done the day before it has to get done. I could do it today. I have time, but you know, I don't have to get it done till 3 weeks from now. So I'm not going to. I don't know why. I just work. I know it's just, I have a deadline. It's a deadline mindset. So how would you recommend, you know, getting past that and just getting things done? So, you know, because something might come up between now and then, and I don't have time when that, you know, 3 weeks from now to get it done. So how would you recommend overcoming?
So the question I would first have to, you know, we'll have to go deep a little bit here, Val, find out, how is that serving you? Because until it's no longer serving you in some way, then you won't like commit to making a change. So there's some, whether it's been an endorphin rush or that surge of dopamine that makes you feel good, like when you can say, yes, I pulled that off, whatever it's been, something in that has been serving you in some sort of way. That's why, and then it has become a habit and a behavior that has persisted because it served you in some way. And then now you're like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. It's no more fun. So, so then I would say if it's no longer serving you, then you'll commit to doing something differently. And so as you say, okay, if you look at your planner, look at your calendar, and it fits, and it's a project or and it has a deadline, then ask yourself, why can't I turn this in early? If there's nothing preventing you from doing it, then just do it. And then once you start just doing it several times, you're going to create and rewire that whole mindset.
Now, speaking of mindset, what kind of mindset do you recommend, guys, for people to develop? And how can people develop a more of an abundance mindset when it comes to their money?
getting a written financial plan done. What we found so often, especially in Virginia, the income here is significantly higher in general than across the rest of the United States. And we have so many clients, business owners, parents, spouses that come to us and they panic. And, it just takes just one written plan to be able to show them the layout, because a lot of the people that we speak with are doing a lot of the right things. They are contributing to their retirement accounts. They're building up savings. They're paying off the house. The concern and the reason they lie awake at night is because they've got no idea what the end goal is. They've got no vision on, what that plays out like. So oftentimes we have conversations where it's literally one or two minor tweaks to what they're doing, but the peace of mind wasn't there prior purely because they've never had a written financial plan. It's awesome to see as a parent and as a business owner, wow, we show them projections on if they just continue what they're doing today, what that's going to look like at 55, 65. And very often they're really impressed. They're like, we had no idea this is, what we'll end up with. And then we show them what we can do in terms of how to mitigate tax exposure, especially if you're a business owner, contributing to different accounts, how that's going to save you on taxes. And they're just blown away. And they've been doing a lot of these things from the start correctly already in the beginning. It's just that they'd never had a plan to show that.
Exactly. And to add on to that, I'm sure, Demetria, you can attest to this. If you write something down, you have a 42, 45, something along those lines, higher percent chance that you actually do it. So if you put your goals down, if you really sit down and get this financial plan done and see everything in front of you, the chance of you going after are much higher.
Yeah. I'm going to just ditto those guys on that, because I will say working with a financial planner changed our life, here. And as Al said, when you really put it down on paper, you're like, oh, I'm actually not doing too bad. I've been thinking it's been terrible, but it's like, it's not too bad once you actually get it down and look at it and then start processing those numbers on a regular basis. And so whether it's with your finances, whether it's how you organize your time, whether it's how you organize what you're eating, get it down, take a look at it. Not saying you won't make adjustments along the way, because you're constantly making adjustments. But if it's when it's written, it's real. So write it down.
Now, Demetria, you had mentioned a vision board. If someone wants to create a vision board, how would you recommend they go ahead and do that?
Well, I've done lots of vision boards and vision board parties along the way. For me, I do like a life visioning exercise to go along with that before we put anything on the board, because it's nice to have all these theoretical fun things of this is where I want to go and where I want to. And all of that is great. And you can do it the old fashioned way and cut out pictures from magazines and stuff. But again, for me, it's so very important to be oriented towards a North Star, to be oriented towards, for me, when I start with the life visioning exercise, I really take people into imagining you're at the end. So if you were Betty White at 90, what would you want people to be saying about you and how you lived and where the things you contributed and the impact that you made and had, and who are the most important people are going to be around you? I kind of take people through that type of exercise. Then when they put things on the board, they have a little bit more meaning, more than just about some trips and vacations and spa days.
Excellent. I like that. Okay, great. So in terms of financials, so say someone came into some money and they had a couple $1,000s dropped into their lap, not a ton of money, but a decent amount. Would you recommend that they use it to pay off debt, or to create financial reserves just in case of emergency, or to invest it somehow? So Sep or Al, if one of you want to take it, and how would you figure out what the best approach would be?
Yeah, great question. I can touch on that and then Al can chime in. So it really depends on the person's goals. It depends on their objectives. Every situation is different. If you're dealing with a younger person who's getting their career started, they want to set themselves up for a good retirement, you have the ability to be more aggressive in your portfolio. You have the time horizon on your side. That's when you get into the mode of growth. You're in the growth mode at that point. If someone's getting closer to retirement, that is the major objective. You want to be in the preservation mode. You want to be a little bit less risky. You want to make sure you have that money for you when you retire. So to answer your question, it all depends on their time horizon and what their objectives are. Again, if they have those high credit card debts at in the 20% in that range, yeah, maybe it's a good idea to pay those off first before you start doing other things. Chip away at that. Or maybe it's allocate a little bit of that money for debt, a little bit for growth. So it all comes down to that specific individual's objectives and what they want to see accomplished.
Demetria, in terms of time and organization, it was something that I've heard about is the Pomodoro method or time blocking. Do you recommend any of those types of strategies? And can you tell folks about what they are and the benefits?
So I love time blocking. And so basically, time blocking is all about having dedicated focus time for a certain specific period. So whether it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, I usually encourage people when they do time blocking to kind of like, so we did that 12 to 12, kind of like what the full day is. If you're going to start with doing that and writing stuff on paper, do 30-minute increments. Because it's a lot easier. Some people go down to the 15-minute increment, but then I think that can be a little too, too tiny of an increment for me, at least. So 30 minutes use blocks are really good for me. But that's when you have dedicated focus time. So to get something to completion, because often we're doing a little bit here, then we're doing a little bit here, we're doing a little bit here. And sometimes that's fine. And those things can, accumulate up to you getting to where you want to go. So for instance, when Molly was writing her book, if she was like, okay, 8 to 9 every morning, that is my hour for writing. She writes from 8 to 9 and then she's done. That block is over, she's done. And then she can go on to do that next bit of focused work. We like to confuse ourselves, or we like to convince ourselves, or we like to pretend that we can multitask, but our brains have not evolved that way. Our brains literally switch from one thing to the next and back and forth. So when we're doing multiple things, our brain is taking time and we're actually losing efficiency because our brain is it's kind of like you put a car in park and drive, and it's like doing this kind of thing. Our brain is literally doing that kind of start and stop type of thing. So it's like, okay, let's get in drive here and let's focus and let's just do this for this amount of time. But again, we talked about when you do that time audit and have a realistic view of how long it takes to do this project. So if Jean is like, okay, I have to list this many houses. Okay, I'm going to block 3 hours because I have to do this many, I have to get this many listings done. And this is how much it's going to take. And then in that 3 hours, that's what she does. I also like to do, for me, when I do like coaching clients, I do 15 minutes in between. Like I tell people, like, don't really set anything for, like, if you set something for an hour, then you have 15 minutes that you need to buffer because you need to get up, you need to walk, use the restroom, you need to get something to drink. So I like using 15-minute buffers in between those time blocks because we have to care for ourselves. And sometimes we like to pretend that, oh, I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna bang it all out. And then you realize, you look up 3 hours, I've been sitting for 3 hours. That is not comfortable, doesn't feel good. My bladder's full, that's no fun. So allow yourself time to get up and move, because that movement is so very important for just kind of maintaining your overall healthy working style.
Great. Great. Okay. Moving back to the financial side, I'm trying to go back and forth. So going back to, say someone has a chunk of money fell into their lap and all their credit cards are paid off. And so really the only debt they have might be their house, and you want to keep that. How can they figure out what the best type of investment? I mean, there's so many different types of investments out there. Some are taxable on the front end, some are taxable on the back end. Some you have no idea how they're taxable. Someone, you could buy some Bitcoin and figure out, you hear how that's going through the roof, and then all of a sudden it's tanking, but you don't know. And I mean, how do you figure out what the best investments vehicles are for you?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. Seeing as we've got so many business owners on this call, there's two things, I suppose. And as a business owner myself, the goal is always to have the least amount that I'm paying myself is going to be today. The goal is to increase the income stream for my business and for myself in salary on an annual basis. So we know that the least amount of taxes I'm going to be paying is today. That's the goal. That's what we try and do. So the benefit of putting funds into an account that is taxed today versus later. And I'll give you a great example. Your 401k, if you put in $1 million and it's grown to 2 million at retirement, and it gets taxed at your income bracket then, which might be 30%, that means that there's $1.6 million available to you after taxes, where you might be in a 23% income bracket today. So you might put in $1 million and it's actually grown to 1.7 on the back end, and the whole 1.7 is available to you. The catch there, though, is we are limited depending on our employment and our employer in what vehicles we have access to that are tax deferred or tax advantaged. And that again just comes back to, and I know we always come back to the plan, but every person, their goals are so unique that our goal is in a fiduciary perspective, it's very difficult to give a broad stroke answer. So we look at each individual, and the goal is always just to diversify. What we try and do for our clients is to mitigate risk, and that includes spreading our taxes. The other issue we have is on the back end, we don't know what tax rates are going to be. So if you have access to something like a Roth, if your income still qualifies that you can fund a Roth, I would recommend highly to max that out on an annual basis. On the other hand, if you've got a 401k where your employer is offering a match, that's free money on the table. Even though it's getting taxed on the back end, definitely at least put in whatever the employee is going to be matching. There are other vehicles available also, which we utilize in our plans that give us guaranteed growth, more conservative dollars, but with zero taxes on the back end. So, and last year was a great example of that, Molly. If you phoned me last year and you only had a 401k and your value in that was $1 million, all of a sudden it's 650,000 in that account because the market tanked by 25%. And what we want to do for our clients is when we receive that call is to be able to say, you know what, Molly, that is where we are. That's probably someone calling for advice.
Right.
But is to be able to give you that peace of mind and say, you know what, Molly, we're not touching your 401k this year because we have a different vehicle that we're going to be accessing. So come back to the point, diversifying irrelevance of your unique goals is always going to be the focus for us. But really, really good question.
Okay. Let's see. So we've only got time for like one more question, and then we'll take questions from the attendees. So, Demetria, let's see. How can people, as business owners, as you know, as much time as you decide to devote to work, there will be work to do, as we all know, right? How can people, business owners, make sure to not get overwhelmed, stay in control of their time, and be able to take time for themselves so they don't burn out.
Yeah, well, one of the things with COVID and pushing everybody to a work from home situation, everyone experienced that. Like in the last 2 years, everyone experienced, because their home office became like, okay, no, this is work 24 hours. For those of us who are entrepreneurs and business owners, we're like, oh, we already got that beat. we understand that. I really say plan everything. And so plan your manicure and pedicures, plan your hair appointments, plan your walk, your daily walk, plan everything, and then keep that time sacred, because we always, I'm just going to take from that first. But if you want to, I see Dawn likes the Betty White idea. If you want to be like Betty White, you got to stay healthy. Yeah. So you have to hold that space sacred and do not allow yourself or even others to take away from that time where you care for yourself. And I would say when you do that time audit, and I say this to people all the time, where are you on your calendar? You. Not your business, not the kids, not the pets, not everyone else. Where are you on your calendar? And you need to be on your calendar every day. If you're not on your calendar every day, you will burn out. And you can also become resentful. Like, it would be a shame to have a wonderfully successful business and be resentful at that business from growing, because it's depleting you. So make sure that you are on your calendar. And you deserve to give yourself at least an hour a day, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So last question on financial planning and goals. So again, our audience today is business owners. So are there anything that business owners need to think about their finances that is different from like just a regular person who's an employee of a company? And what would that be?
Yeah, one of the things that a business owner really needs to look at is their biggest asset is their future income in the company. So, and that's one thing. If something had to happen to you, what does that look like for your business? And it's the not so fun things to speak about, but a lot of business owners, you're the main breadwinner. People are relying on your income and the continuation of the business. How do you mitigate those risks? And do you have very basic things in place? Disability insurance. If something had to happen to you, how are you protecting your future income? Because it's not just about paying yourself a salary today. It's making sure that income is still coming in, that you can build your wealth for the future as well. If something had to happen to you and you've got a spouse with kids, what is that going to look like for them? Do you have life insurance in place? That's such a simple way to mitigate risk. You can get $1 million life insurance policy for $50, and you take all that risk off the table. The other thing is utilizing your business by writing a salary to make sure that you cover your expenses on an annual basis, but trying to keep some of those funds within the company and growing your wealth that way, reducing your tax exposure. So just writing the salary that you need versus what you want. You can always use a business card to, do some other things. But and then what is the goal with the company? So that's it added on top that a business owner has that, people that are self-employed don't have is, what is the end goal, the vision? Do you want to eventually sell this? Is this something that we need to put into your plan that is going to be part of your retirement goals? Is there legacy planning, or is someone looking to inherit it? And yeah, so I would say that is probably number one, is what is the end goal, the vision with the company, and we can move it back.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to open it up to the floor for questions for any of our panelists. Just feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
Hey, this is Lisa. I don't know, Dimitri, I had to step out for 1 second. You mentioned something about tracking your time for 72 hours or a week or whatever. What do you recommend for doing that? I've heard of Toggle. Is that what you recommend, or are there other?
She's talked about just writing it on paper.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
but when you're doing your audit, you can do it on anything. I mean, you could do it on paper, you could do it in an Excel spreadsheet, there are apps out there. So I don't have one app in particular that I recommend. I am kind of old school, like Molly said, with that, and like writing it on paper, because, when spirit of full transparency. So just like when I start tracking certain things that you eat in your app, how many of y'all do them health apps? And sometimes you're like, okay, I just didn't get that in there. So, so I go the old fashioned way, write it down.
Okay. Hey, Tanya, do you want to take off the spotlights and just put everybody back in Brady Bunch view so we can all?
Yep, give me a minute.
Go ahead. Jenny.
Hello, everyone. It was really nice. Thank you so much. I would like to ask a question. Do you have a list of what are the things that you need to have? Like, for example, disability insurance for the business, life insurance, all lists that needs the basic things that you need to have, at least as a business owner.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, Jenny, thank you. That's a really great question. And what we do is we usually we would set up a call with you, a 1-hour review call, and we'll do a discovery meeting with you to see what you currently have in place. But we also send a very basic Excel spreadsheet to find out what those items are prior to the call. And then we'll hop on and we'll say, look, Jenny, this is awesome. You have all these things in place already. These are the gaps we find. And then we'll find out why those gaps are. Sometimes there's a very, very valid reason. Sometimes it is something that we need to implement. But yes, really good question. So we'll hop on a 30-minute call with you and do a discovery meeting to go through all those checklists.
And because every business is different, there's not a tailor-made list that you need. For example, a doctor will need different things than digital marketing. So everything is tailor-made.
I have a question for Dimitri about time too. So this is Lisa again. Dimitri, you said putting an hour in for our time for ourselves. Do you find for you that it's like a certain time block every day where you're saying like an hour once, in each morning, or does it depend on what you have going on? Like what has worked for you in something like that? Just because that's always a challenge for me. Like, do I have it here today and there tomorrow? Like what, and it's just all over the place. So what's worked for you?
And so this is where I talk about, and I wrote about this concept in my book about time, like work versus play. Because when I'm saying put an hour or some time for yourself, this is stuff to refill you up, not stuff that's a chore. Because sometimes we'll put, I gotta, like I said, for me, exercise is work. So that's why I plan it like work. And that's not time for me to be refilled and feel great. No, that's not that time. So I have done it various ways though, Lisa. So sometimes it is like I do a routine, like a little morning routine where I do some devotional, and I found this wonderful thing on Spotify called Daily Wellness. So if you haven't listened to Daily Wellness on Spotify, because it's a little bit of talk, it's a little bit of music, it's just kind of good meditation time. And so I start every day with that devotional and that daily wellness. And I do that for about 30 minutes every morning. And so those are some things that they fit into like a morning routine. So that's why they're there every day. But say you want to have reading time. Like, so if reading is really important to you and it nurtures you and it fills you up, what time do you want to read every day? You might say, you know what, I want to sit outside and read every day when the weather is nice. So, but when it's snowy outside, I'm not going to sit outside and read. So what how would you substitute? So really finding the things that really fill you up and nurture you, and finding where you want to put it. And I've done it a variety of ways. Morning routines, evening routines, they definitely work. And, you know, if you've ever done a bedtime routine for a kid, there's nothing wrong with having a bedtime routine for yourself.
Okay, no, that's helpful. And I appreciate that because, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Dawn, you have a question?
Yeah, Dimitri, I was interested in hearing what you have to say about this. So, you know, prior to COVID, it was all about trying to get, you know, work-life balance as business owners and moms and women, and mom, you know, just everyone in general, excuse me. And when COVID started and everybody started working from home, it sounded like it was going to be this great panacea, right? That we would be able now to get everything done because we would be right here. What did you find in your experience? Did that turn out to be true, or did it make it better? Did it make it worse? Is it just different?
I think for people who were definitely not used to working from home, it was a lot worse. It was a huge eye opener. And then we set these unrealistic goals because everybody was like organizing their pantries and their closets and doing all of this stuff. And they thought that that was going to last forever. No. And that's what I've seen by my experience. Those who were not used from working from home, it became that 24-hour availability, and it started to get to people because they were like, okay, I'm expected to be on all the time. And then in some companies, that was like they would plan meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting because it was a way to kind of justify or see that people were working. So it was a lot of this weird stuff going on. That's what I observed in my experience. So what I tell people all the time, you can have it all, you can't do it all. So as a business owner, especially, what are the things you don't want to do, or they're not the best use of your time? Hire it out. If you can't yet afford to hire it out, then find a volunteer, find an intern, put one of your teenagers to work, whatever it has to be, you know, especially for those of us who don't like doing certain things. But we can have it all, we can't do it all. So yeah, hire the housekeeper. Hire a stylist, hire the bookkeeper. If you don't have the bookkeeper doing your books, get the virtual assistant so that, you know, I just looked at my inbox and I was like, oh my gosh, everything is organized and my inbox is down to zero because the VA has gone in, and because I just started working with a really good VA. Sometimes they're hard to find. And it was like, oh, this is wonderful. So now I can just search and pull up what I need to pull up. So we can have it all. We just can't do it all. And I think people thought they could do it all during COVID. And then they realized, I don't want to do it all. So why am I trying to kill myself to do that?
Yeah, it's the old saying, do only what you can do, right?
Yeah, or do what's important. Like I said, if it's not pushing you closer to that vision and mission, then it's not as important. So I can hire that out.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Jean,
Mhm.
Jean, you have a question?
For Dimitri. First of all, thank you all. This was awesome. Really, really helpful. Great way to start the year. So I've always thought about vision boarding. I know I've watched things in the past about vision boarding. I guess I'm curious, like, what your vision board looks like. Like, what does it actually, like, where should I put it? What does it, like, physically look like? And, like, what's important to have there that's in front of you to see at your desk, or is it in the kitchen, or like where, and physically, you know, how does it appear?
So I have my old one, the old board. I could go grab it, but I'm not going to take time. But see, I have it, and I posted it on my social media on at Vantage Point Coach. So I redid mine for
Okay.
this year, and when I did the Design Your Life Summit. And so, and you'll see the staying healthy is at the top, and it's really big because everything, if the health is solid, then I can do all the stuff that I need to do. So that's why it's there in big. I have something about my legacy. I have like this big crowd and audience who is like, that's who I want to be.
Can you hold it up
speaking
to the camera so we can see?
Yeah, I need to
That is-
follow you, Demetria. Okay.
Yeah, I have to take off the there so you can see take off the virtual background there so you can kind of see.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow you so I can see it better too. But
Yeah, so I did it there, and I made it my wallpaper on my phone as well, because so every time I open up my phone or every time I look at this phone, I see that vision. And then I have
making it my background. That's such a great idea.
yeah, and so it's with you all the time. And so then I have my plan and wrote out my planner and for the week, and so that serves me very well.
Great.
Chrissy, you have a question?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm not on camera. I have my workout clothes on. I just wanted to give a shout out to Sep. I'm meeting with him tomorrow, I believe, for the one-on-one discovery call, and he's extremely personable and super grateful to him and Alan who participated in today's call. Demetria, I loved your energy, but you said something in the beginning that I failed to capture that I think a client of mine could really benefit from. I'm a business coach and I help corporate professionals sort of transition and launch their business. You said, if I'm not mistaken, we overestimate what we can get done in a day, and we underestimate what we can get done in a year. Is that correct? Did I say that correctly?
I didn't quite say it like that, but
Yeah,
but basically I said we often just underestimate what time it actually takes to do any of our projects and or tasks. Like we underestimate how much it takes and what it takes to get it done. And so that's why the time audit. And you can Google, if you Google time audit, you can find different tools and templates out there. I think I have a couple that kind of walk you through how to do that. And I can forward them to Tanya to send out to you guys after the fact. But really a lot of it is, like I said, it's just writing it all down and really getting a picture of what it takes to actually get the things done that you need to get done.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I just want to thank everybody. Thank you to our speakers, Demetria, Sep, Al. Thank you all so much for joining us today and sharing your wisdom. If everybody can give them we really appreciate it. So everybody, if you want to save the chat, you can pull up the chat, and at the bottom half where you type the message, if you look on the right-hand side, there's 3 little dots. If you click on that, a little button that will come up that says save chat, and you can save it down. That way you have everybody's contact information, including Demetria's and Sep's. And I don't think Al put his in there, but Sep has his in there. So you can reach out to either of them if you want to get more information about how they can help you in terms of your goals and getting organized for the year. So I'll turn it back over to Lisa to wrap up.
That was it. You guys, our next meeting is going to be in person. We will definitely take precautions for COVID. We have wristbands to let people know if you want to stay distant, stay closer, etc. But it's in Alexander, so if you're anywhere near there, please join us. It's going to be great, and I hear the restaurant's amazing. And then don't forget about our virtual coffee tomorrow at 9:30 if you can make it. We're going to go over New Year, new goals, and the coffees are a lot of fun. So that is what we have going on. And Women of Excellence, remember to nominate your rock star women business owners that you know. You guys, thank you, Demetria, Al, Sep. That was stellar. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate your time and your advice. I learned actually several great things. I'm trying to make sure I implement all of it. And I will tell you, Demetria, using the vision board on your phone is what a great little tip. That was fantastic. So thank you guys so much, everybody. Appreciate it. We will see you next month for our next Lunch and Learn. If we don't see you next Thursday for our in-person NABO cheers. That's it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great
Thank you,
rest of your
everyone.
week.
It was great seeing some familiar